Hey, this is Kevin with Consumer Reports, and what I'm showing you here is my new Ruger Precision Rimfire Rifle. And this video right here is really an introduction to a series of videos or web pages that I've got where I go through and review the rifle. And I'm also going to cover my overall pros and cons and some of the features of the rifle in this part of the review. But what I'm also doing is really pointing you in the direction of my website, consumerreports.com, where you can go to and you can actually see the details of the review there. You can also go through and look at the different videos at my YouTube channel. But the review is broken down, just like most of my reviews, into multiple parts, where I cover like what's in the box, external and operational features, disassembly, and range testing. Here I'll also, in this part of the review, kind of cover what I would consider to be the pros and the cons associated with this rifle. But before I start that, I'll just kind of walk you through real quick some of the overall features of the rifle that I cover in great detail in the review. So Ruger produced this precision rimfire platform, which is, I would call it, the little brother to their precision rifle, and you can look at it and tell from the styling, if you're familiar with the Ruger Precision Rifle, the short action one, you can tell that it's very similar as far as the styling goes. It's got a polymer chassis here. It's got a bolt here that has a we'll say a rimfire bolt throw, about 1.5 inch throw. It has an option to remove a clip and to have a full 3-inch throw if you wanted to simulate a short action rifle. It comes with a single Ruger BX15 a 15 round magazine. It's got their Ruger Marksman trigger here, which came in at about 2 3/4 pounds. Really nice crisp trigger there. AR style grip here, adjustable butt stock for comb length of pull, and you can also adjust the position of the butt pad here if you want. It's got a 15-inch aluminum handguard here, threaded muzzle up here. It's got a bull barrel profile right there, an 18-inch barrel. It does not come with a swivel stud or a piece of rail. I had to add that to it to be able to install this bipod here. This platform that I've got, that I'm showing right here, this rifle, I installed a Burris MTAC rifle scope, and I've got some UTG mounts there, a little bubble level right there. Overall, I think Ruger did a really nice job at putting together this rifle platform right here. They added a lot of features, and again, one I didn't cover just a second ago. It's got a 30 MOA Picatinny rail on top of the receiver right here. Also didn't cover, it's got this large oversized bolt handle right here, which I think is similar to their precision rifle. The safety can be ambidextrous. It's configured on the left hand side as it's received, but it can be switched to the other side. But again, overall, I think Ruger did a nice job with the features that they provided in this rifle. I think MSRP on the particular rifle is around 5.5, but you can most likely get it around 4.5 at your local shops or online. When I first saw this particular rifle at the Ruger website, I started studying it and asking myself, what's the role that this rifle might provide for me if I were interested in getting one? And the more I looked at it, the more I thought about it, and checked out some other reviews. I came to the decision that this could potentially be a good training platform for shooting precision rifles. It's something that definitely, the shape or the configuration of it simulates some precision rifles that are out there. Again, Ruger modeled it after their Ruger Precision Rifle, which was a huge hit. But it offered the opportunity to have something scaled down that you could shoot at a more economical price, 22 long rifle, as compared to some of the centerfire rounds, and really have an opportunity to work on your skill set. Now, I'll be honest, I did struggle a little bit at why I would actually need to add one of these rifles to my collection. And the more and more I thought about it, I still came back to the perspective of having a training rifle that I can shoot economically and teach other people to shoot and shoot it economically really started to appeal to me. And then when I considered the challenge of really sitting down and trying to shoot the .22 long rifle caliber at velocities that are, we'll say, standard velocity, or maybe high velocity if I could find a round that would group well enough, that of trying to shoot that out to 300 yards, and I started thinking about the drop associated with a bullet, and I started thinking, man, this might be a great opportunity to sit down and have a shooting platform that I could realistically, and affordably really work on some skills or teach some skills to some other people. And the more I thought about it, actually the more I got excited that, hey, this could really be a pretty good rifle to have on hand. So I ended up getting one for this review. Now in my review, I go over all of the details in exhausting detail most likely. And the one thing I wanted to point out as I was comparing the Ruger specifications of what they've got listed versus what I found, the one deviation is that in their literature they were saying that the rifle was coming in at about 6.8 pounds. Realistically, I got the rifle coming in at about 7.1 pounds. That's without a magazine, and with a magazine it was coming in at about 7.4 pounds. So I think it's a little bit heavier than they may be advertising. I mentioned it again about price, and looking at the screen right now, it's MSRP is $529. Again, you ought to be able to get this rifle somewhere around $450, somewhere, I don't know, between $425, $450, somewhere in that price range. Now, if I kind of jump down and kind of summarize some of the things that I found and try not to make this intro too long, some of the pros that I found here were that it had a very good trigger pull. It was extremely crisp. There very, very little over travel. It came in at about 2 3/4 pounds. It's adjustable. I wasn't able to adjust it lower. I think Ruger spec says it should come in between 2 1/4 and 5 pounds. Mine was 2 3/4, and I really didn't see any substantial difference as I was trying to decrease the pull weight. But it still had a very good trigger, so I'm going to put that down as a pro. Also, I was able to prove in my range testing, and you'd have to really, I'm not going to go into the details here. I shot 48 5-shot groups, and of all that, the CCI standard velocity was some of the best shooting ammunition that I had, and I was getting groups at 50 yards, group averages that were like 0.42 inches and 0.45 inches. Some of my best groups, I had like one that was 0.23 inches at 50 yards here, shooting suppressed. Another one that was 0.28 inches at 50 yards. And when you go through and you start doing the math, what you'll find out is this particular rifle actually has sub-MOA capability, and I was very pleased to see that. Another pro is that it comes with the 30 MOA rail right here on top. And that's going to be necessary if you're going to try to shoot out at longer distances, because you're going to need that bias on your optic. I ended up getting a deal on this Burris MTAC right here, which has, I think, around 20 mils of total travel. With the bias on the optic here due to the 30 MOA base, I was able to get about 15 mils of up adjustment and 5 mils down. And I was actually able to dial out and shoot out to 300 yards and correct using the elevation adjustment on my rifle scope. Another pro that I liked on this rifle was their simple adjustment here. It's a single lever. If I can flip it down here, it's a single lever to flip for adjusting comb height and length of pull, and it's very simple, very easy to do, and I kind of like the way that they did that. I actually like it better than what they used on their big rifle. This being rimfire, this is all polymer back here, and the recoil forces aren't going to be near that of what you might find in your centerfire calibers. So maybe they were able to get away with doing it on this particular rifle. But I did like the way that they integrated this portion right here. Another pro that I feel was their slim 15-inch handguard right here that's got M-lock running down the side here. You got 12, 3, 6, and 9 on the other side, and then at the alternate angles you've got another little section of M-lock capability right here. Down through here, this is just for styling. It's not really for any M-lock accessories in these areas right here. I do like the handguard. I like the fact that they gave a nice long handguard and the barrel is free floated. The other pro that I wanted to point out here, and I've already touched on it some, is just the price point. I think if you're looking at, if you say you can find it for $450 and you can get into that shooting that rifle, that bolt action rifle, with what you get there, I think that's a pretty good value. You'd have to really decide for yourself when it comes to value, but for me, when I look at the performance of what I've got there and that particular price, I'm happy with that value. I've also got a section in my review to where I kind of list things. Is it a pro, is it a con, or is it just a comment? And I'm really leaving that up for you guys to decide. The first thing that I've got in here is the fact that it does have a very slim handguard. And because of the very slim handguard and the bull barrel, or the profile of the barrel here, what you'll find is that as you start putting M-lock accessories on here, you're going to have to watch and make sure that the screws for your M-lock accessories don't contact the barrel surface. I purchased 3 different types of M-lock accessories. One of them was a true mag pull accessory, and I was able to install it with no issues. The screws never touched the barrel. I purchased another one, and this was just cheap stuff off of Amazon, and it came very, very close to touching the barrel. I also purchased another one, and that particular one, the screws were so long that if I would have installed the accessory without taking a close look at it, it would have actually, the screws would have made contact with the barrel and potentially shifted my point of impact, and then basically got rid of the free floating feature of the rifle. So again, I'm not saying that's a con, I'm not saying it's a pro either, but it's something that you need to be aware of when you're going through and you're installing M-lock accessories on your rifle. Another thing I listed was the fact that the 10-round rotary magazines on this particular rifle, and maybe it's just the magazines that I have, they weren't dropping free like the BX-15 magazine that I've got right here. Push the mag release on that, you can see that it drops free. When I install the rotary 10-round magazine and I push the mag release, nothing happens. Because of the shape of the mag well, it's hard to pull that magazine out from below. So to remove those 10-round magazines, what I had to do was open the bolt, push that lever forward, and push down from the top, and that would drop out. I didn't put that as a formal con. That may be a formal con for some people if you're really planning on using these magazines, because to me that's kind of inconvenient having to push them out like that. But they do work, and they work without issue, so I'm really going to leave that up to you guys to decide where that one falls. The last thing I listed as a comment there was really the weight of the rifle. I mean, it's coming in at about 7.5 pounds without an optic. By the time you go through and you install an optic on this with mounts, some accessories, you're going to be in the 9-pound range or more. And depending on what your use is for this rifle, that may be more than you want. In my case, that doesn't bother me at all, because most likely every time I pull this rifle out, I'm going to go straight to the bench with it. But there may be other people that that's not what they plan to use it for. So you just might want to consider the weight when you're deciding what the purpose would be for this rifle for you. For a con, I really didn't have a strong con. I didn't really have anything that was really nagging at me, saying, "Oh my gosh, I don't like that," other than the fact that they should have provided the rifle, in my opinion, with a short section of M-lock rail up here, so that you could install a bipod or some adapter to be able to allow you to install a bipod. What I've got shown here is it's an M-lock adapter that's got a lug on it, so that you can install just your standard swivel sling style bipod. I think I like the swivel sling style bipods better. That was a lot to say. Than the Picatinny rail mounted bipods. So I kind of preferred this method right here. But I think they should have provided something right there. To summarize my bottom line comments, my goal was to see if this rifle would be a good training platform for precision shooting. And after going through and doing my range testing and determining that the rifle is sub-MOA capable with a .22 long rifle ammunition, and that I could sit down at 8 cents a round, shoot out to 300 yards, and actually put some lead on steel, and actually small steel plates of about 6 inches in diameter, and do that, I really convinced myself that this could be an excellent platform for learning how to do some precision shooting. And more than just precision shooting, it's all those things that come into play when you start looking at correcting for elevation. Like in my case, for this particular rifle, the correction that has to come into play for 300 yards was about 14.5 mils. And honestly, that's a substantial correction to be dialing into any rifle. Now, I haven't gone through and seen the equivalent for a centerfire rifle, but I know that with my 14.5 mils, it's going to somewhere be, we'll say, around 45-ish MOA, and that's 300 yards. With my 6.5 Creedmoor, I think I'm dialing in about 9.8 MOA for around 475 yards. So if you kind of roughly follow me there, the amount of correction that you're making to shoot 300 yards with a rimfire rifle is significant when you compare that to a centerfire rifle. So there's a huge opportunity for learning what you're going to actually be doing when you're shooting with this type of platform. So overall, I'd give this rifle a big thumbs up after going through and doing all the study that I've done on it and my range testing. And if you're interested in getting into this type of a rifle, I highly suggest you take a look at one in a store and look at some of the other reviews that are out on the internet, and come to your own opinion. For me, I'm convinced that this rifle will make many more trips to the range, because I've already got planned a lot of different things that I want to do and study with this rifle and shooting in general. So that kind of wraps up this part of my review. Again, this is intended to be just an overall summary or introduction into the review. There's many more parts of the review where I go into tons of detail, and if you've seen any of my reviews in the past, I probably put in there too much detail. But anyway, it's all there. I've had a good time reviewing it, and I hope that you like this video. And if you do, please like, subscribe, or both, and share it with your friends. And I'll try to keep bringing more detailed reviews in the future. Thanks.